My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is truth on toxic positivity. This is actually the second video I've done on toxic positivity, and I also kind of want to talk about toxic spirituality. They're really similar topics. They're connected in a pretty strong way. But I want to talk about it, as usual, from a few different angles. And the first, and this is because every topic is, like a double-edged sword. It's got a little bit of everything available. When you've got nearly 8 billion people down here at school, which in this concept of now, that's where we're at. There's a little bit of everything down here. So the first component is to check in with yourself. Are you somebody that complains all the time, like your mouth hole? Is talking and shaking the web constantly with storytelling around how awful your life is and this drama over here, and then this terrible thing happened. And then, also that person is terrible and I don't like what they're doing and blah, 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 blah. Some of the ways you may know if that's what your mouth is doing is you may experience people sometimes backing up from you when you speak, or avoiding you, or trying to dip out of conversations from you. Just kind of not saying a lot in response to you unless they're also an incessant complainer. So the first thing I want to say is that there are some negative Nancys down here. You know what I mean? Some people that are just like, I'm just offering negativity. I just want all of life to be negative. So I'm going to constantly tell you what I don't like. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like how this is happening. And I get it. Earth School is not the easiest place to be. There's a lot of foolishness down here. There's plenty to not like. If you just want to set your attention on that, there are a lot of sites you can be like, I don't like that, and I don't like that over there. And that is very common, and that's okay. It's a human condition for the ego to label stuff and be like, don't like, don't like. Like it's doing that all the time with its little label maker. But if you are doing that all the time, like the check-in is like, do you offer inspiration? Do you offer compliments? Do you offer kindnesses to yourself and to others? Do you sing people's praises? Do you sing your own praises? Do you see your gifts? Are you able to speak to the blessings that you receive in this place, the grace of the sun and how it lights your path, how it provides food for you, the fact that your heart beats and your brain works and they never ask a single thing of you, what a generous place we live in, how rich we are? So, do you also offer kindnesses, positivity, loving kindness to self, others? Do you shake the web with any of that? If that doesn't sound very familiar, then you may be a percentage of the population that has taken these coined terms, toxic positivity, where we just took these terms and we're like, here's the new phrase. And when you heard it, you went, oh. I know people that are using this term a lot, toxic positivity, they're just talking about it, but they're actually really negative people that complain a lot. And what it sounds like to me is you are using that as a justification for the negativity that you be. And you're welcome to do that as free will zone. I'm not here to judge you. That's just more of that toxic negativity going in endless circles, which is a more normative and truthful statement. Toxic negativity is a more normative and truthful statement, because incessantly being negative is shaking the web with more negativity. Are any of y'all feeling complete with the level of negativity that's available to you? Any of y'all getting tired of that? Any of y'all getting tired of talking about what you don't like? We've been doing that since we were created, us two-leggeds. So there's a component of toxic positivity where we use it as a justification for our negative conversations. And we're just like, I get to be negative because this toxic positivity is a real problem. Now, that being said, there is a component where I've also met people that they can only be around fluffy, light, love-based feelings. Now, also not going to vilify that. I'm just looking at it. I'm not necessarily trying to judge it. I'm just trying to say, if you're using the term toxic positivity all the time and you're constantly negative, positivity is probably your medicine. And you putting the word toxic in front of it is not helping you get the antidote to the poison you're being in this realm. just something to chew on today. There's this other component where you've had severe trauma and you may really need to not be around negativity for a while. So I get it. Sometimes your medicine after extreme trauma is to just be exposed for a minute, to not be exposed to negativity. It's like, oh, I just can't be around that right now. I need to keep my aura fluffed. I get that. But some people are doing that to such a degree They're leaning into spirituality. They're leaning into positivity to such a degree that they're not actually receiving what is medicinal about toxicity, negativity, false evidence appearing real, fear-based teacher, shadow teacher, death, trauma down here. We didn't come into a dualized realm, a polarized realm, a duality, a dichotomy, a polarity, to not chew on the polarity. You know what I mean? So you're welcome to avoid it. But if you have spent years, and Heather Feather has done this, I'm just like, even speaking to myself, like I've had incessant layers of like, oh, what is this two-legged doing over here? You know what I mean? Just things that humans have done with me that it's like, wow, that is overwhelmingly, deeply disrespectful to another soul. Like, I don't know what it is that you're just like, oh, I'm just going to come into your life and act crazy. And so that's okay. People aren't alive to please my ego, you know, and I'm not here to appease your ego, and I don't ask you to appease mine. But what I can say is I've had some craziness put upon me in this paradigm, much like you probably. And my goal is to not judge it, because if I get into judgment, then I'm going to need to forgive, because we need to forgive when we judge, because we think we're right. And you're not right if you're judging. You're being separatist. So then we have to practice forgiveness to get back to the love we are. So I've really worked throughout my life to not judge the trash that humans have handed me. They come into my life and they're like, here's some trash. Here's some betrayal. Here, I have no integrity. Take some of that. Here, I'm a narcissist. I only think of myself. Here, I'm going to use all your service and your love, Heather. Okay, well, okay, it is a gift. I do give it freely, but, you know, I'm also not your battery. So, you know, roll on. So it's taken me a long time, because for a lot of my life, I would turn to spirituality and I would turn to positive things. And there are times when I just faced a major trauma, and that is medicinal to me. But you can get addicted to like always just looking at that high vibe, high spiritual, high positive, high flying disc. And that's cool. But what that means is that when a tragedy, a trauma, a suffering, a shadow teacher, a false evidence appearing real teacher comes around the corner again, it flattens you out, because you're not prepared to digest that teaching. So I've spent, since I stepped on the shamanic path, the past several years and have been talking about it. It's like I had this dawning realization at 42 when I stepped on the shamanic path, where I just bumped into experience after experience of like, oh my God, people act crazy. Oh my God, people act crazy. Oh my God, people act crazy. You know, and just like, I've been like a clown, like a sacred clown. You know what I mean? Like deeply spiritual, wanting to love, but also just dealing with a lot of foolishness. I've had my own foolishness. I'm a fool too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not super evolved. I got a lot of growth work to do. But I mean, I just dealt with some tomfoolery in this realm. And I just bounced from lessons. I just kept pushing forward. I kept reading spiritual texts and pushing forward, and remembering that love is the answer and pushing forward. And at 42, I stepped on the shamanic path. And I really was given the opportunity for years to digest the shadow teacher. I've been chewing on for years now the shadow that I've been handed since I was a baby. A lot of shadow teacher. And I found a lot of gifts. I found a lot of gifts in chewing on that teacher, that false evidence appearing real, that separatist delusion, that narcissistic delusion. You know, a narcissist will come and hand you a story that they're the sun. You know, and it takes a minute to get out of that rotation with him and be like, oh, you are a black hole. You're not the sun, you're a black hole, you hot mess. You don't know how to think outside of yourself. And I'm somebody who constantly wants to think outside of myself and ignore Heather. So of course I draw you in, because the universe has brought in this yin and yang of like, here's what it looks like if you were to be completely myopically obsessed with yourself. You put yourself last as a worm under the feet of humanity. So you're here as an extreme option to show the narcissist of what it looks like when you think outside the self. And the narcissist is here to show you what it looks like when you think of the self. Y'all are both out of balance and in extremes. So you've come together to clean it up, because balance is the medicine. Balance is the medicine. Balance is the medicine. So in order for me to come into balance, I have to think about how much I've ignored myself. I have to think about how often I stayed too long in a room with a fool. You know I'm a clown. I know I'm a clown of the universe, but I've stayed around for some foolishness, wanting to be love in response to foolishness. And there were times when, the lesson that I didn't get until years later was, you're welcome to get up and leave the table when love is no longer present. Nina Simone has a beautiful quote similar to that. And yep, learn to get up and leave the table when love is no longer present. So, one thing about spirituality, toxic positivity or toxic spirituality, is that sometimes we can get so mired and addicted to these lifted, evolved offerings, teachings, love, light, beingness, that when life wants to hand us some hey, don't forget, don't forget, you're in a choice realm. You're in a free will choice realm. And don't forget about the choices. Life will do that. You'll be blessed up and you're oh, my life is a grace and everything's going great. And I'm just smiling and I'm just reading the spiritual text. And I feel like I'm in the flow and I'm not dealing with fools right now. And I'm setting better boundaries and I'm practicing self-care. And then life will be here's some foolishness. Did you get triggered and upset? Or are you so addicted to being in that vibe that you don't know how to come over to this tribe of shadow teacher and learn and chew on the fruits of this? Yeah, it's rotten fruit, but you're going to learn to stop putting that in your mouth, So sometimes we forget how to be with a challenging lesson. All of my color, all of my flavor, all of my infinite strangeness really stems from all the darkened corners I've had to roll into throughout this life. I feel like I've been rolling down in an alleyway of darkness my whole life. And it's all of that struggle and strife and separatist offering that two-leggeds have wanted to, you're not with us because you're not with us because, separate. I made this separate. That's what a lot of two-leggeds are doing down here. You're not our label, I've had people be oh, it's your white privilege that makes you think you can be a part of this conversation. It's okay. Everybody's just handing out ugliness today. Did you just get all the ugliness together inside of you and decide to hand it to your mouth? Because my ears don't want to hear that. So there's a component of allowing yourself to pursue positivity, spirituality, to get up out of the room when, it's it doesn't serve me to be with you if you're going to be emotionally abusive. That's not healthy. I choose a healthy relationship. I choose to be with a partner that takes full responsibility for themselves, owns their growth, and allows me to take full responsibility for myself, owns my growth, is able to speak to their own feelings if things feel off. And because I love you, I'll do my best to be aware of not being hurtful, but not somebody that's come in to correct me. There are a lot of people out there correcting others, correcting. Oh, this is what my opinion on how that should have gone down. This is my opinion on how you should be. It's pretty sure you're not the steward of me. Pretty sure I'm 46, I am grown. And I know I'm a mess too. I know I'm human, right? I never agreed to be perfect or to be a saint. So there is a component where we do need to turn to greater positivity, turn to spirituality, because when I'm having a darkened hour, spirituality is where I go. I was reading Krishnamurti today. Love Krishnamurti. Sometimes spirituality is my answer. It is my answer. Sometimes positivity is my solution, is my answer. That's a place I need to turn. But sometimes I get I was just all I want is loving, kindness, spiritual. My best friend and I were talking about this. During the pandemic, it was the most graceful, blessed. And I was praying for everyone that suffered, everyone that had to work, everyone that was losing family members. I know it was a very trying time for many of you. But for whatever reason, the pandemic, when it hit, it was the most blessed, holy, sacred, graceful time of my entire life. It's I just had to chew on shadow my whole life. And then it was just manna from heaven, have fun, kiddo. And I had 2 super sacred blessed years that I take 2 knees to. I'm humbled. Thank you. Bless all my ally helping spirits. May you have tenfold return. But then when that rotated back out and I had to get back to work, we were just laughing at how immediately we forgot the struggle once we got all this money. We're she and I both were ladies of luxury. And then as soon as that was gone, it was oh, the struggle's back. No. So it's important to digest, to be willing to face, to be willing to look at in this place, that teacher, false evidence appearing real separation teacher, that can give you the medicine to really know the grace and the magnitude of your love. It's important to not avoid and run. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. There are always services at rarebirdmedicine.com. Blessed be.